All right. So excited to introduce you to today's guest, who is no stranger to excellence in the pool and on the pool deck. So, Mike Murray is currently serving as the Albany Academy head coach of men's and women's swimming and assistant athletic director. He graduated in 1999. I love to shout that out because my kids joke that they think the 90s, the 19s is so long ago. But we've grown up, as I mentioned in the podcast, we've grown up in the sport together. But he's held different positions from being a coach on the deck to head coach of a club to business owner, and now shifting into the space as athletic director. And he also has served as in terms of governing bodies in the sport of swimming. He has served and is part of ASCA, which is an organization that serves swim coaches across the world. So he serves as a president of that. He's also he's been running podcasts and interviewing me for many years, and is part of the Fitter and Faster Coaches Corner. So he, beyond that, is, a friend and a fellow sport parent who is finding his way. And I just so appreciate, and I think you're going to love this honest, real, we talk about the name of the podcast, Real Talk, things that he's learned about himself on this journey from different perspectives. So from his journey as an athlete to his journey as a coach, and things that he, going back would maybe do a little bit different. And then, thinking in terms of where we are now, some suggestions that he has for parents, for all of us going through it. So a beautiful, rich conversation that I am really pumped to bring you. Mike and I have, been walking this path, and when it comes to the centering of humans, when it comes to athletes that we're working with and serving, and also the coaches. And now this conversation extends that into the space of humanizing parents. We're humans first, doing the best that we can. So enjoy this conversation. Look for the links and all of the things inside the show notes. And until next time, enjoy. All right. Welcome, Mike Murray. So excited to have you here. It's usually you're on the other side of this. So
that's exactly right.
Yes, you really. So hope I live up to the way you interview, because I've loved our conversations when we do them formally and also as a friend. And I was thinking of, in preparation for this conversation, we've literally grown up together, right, graduating high school, same year, and growing through the sport and having different vehicles, driving in different directions, but still staying in connection to the sport. So yeah, so grateful that you're here. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me, Sam. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm excited that you're starting to do this. This is great.
It's totally out of my comfort zone, and I'm diving in. Yes. So, well, with that, the idea of the people that I learn from and get to have connections to, there's so much wisdom. That's what I was just saying before we hit record. So much that you have to offer, and it's being able to just pull that together to offer that to people who don't necessarily have the opportunity to learn from you. So yeah, so take us back with what you feel comfortable in terms of sharing your background and upbringing and kind of how that shaped who you've become.
Yeah, so what's really neat about my job here at Albany Academy and as one of the athletic directors, and I get to work with my former football coach while I was a student here. He is the other athletic director. I grew up in the building that I'm sitting in. So I went to school here from 1st through 12th grade. I graduated in 1999, went to Rutgers University, swam with a former teammate of yours, and Brendan Laracy, and had a really good experience there. I transferred to St. Lawrence University, got to be a Division III All-American. Probably never would have happened in the Big East, but had a really great experience there. And from St. Lawrence, I did an internship at Stanford as a young swim coach while Skip Kenny and Richard Quick were there.
Yeah.
And they were very, very good to me. And I ended up spending a little extra time there, learning about the college team and basically getting those guys coffee and recording practices on
but hey,
the old
right?
VHS
Oh my gosh.
shoulder held.
Totally.
I was the coffee guy and the video guy.
Hey, but did you know you wanted to, when you were growing up, did you know you wanted to coach?
I actually thought I was going to go into law like my father. My dad's still an attorney here.
Mm-hmm.
He's also an Albany Academy grad. So I was poised to follow in those footsteps. And when I got to St. Lawrence, I was so fortunate to have a really big name coach
Mm.
who was scaling down his coaching lifestyle from a big time club coach to a small Division III town in New York State, in Bob Clemmer.
Oh, wow.
And Bob was Mark Bernardino's assistant for 8 years at UVA. He was on the U.S. national team staff. And before every practice, I went to Bob's office for about an hour, and I just learned to love the art of coaching and swimming.
That's it.
And he really inspired me. And I had a very good high school coach while I was here at Albany Academy, in Scott Young, who is still a biology teacher here.
Oh, I
And
love it. That's what I taught.
I get
Shout
to
out to
work
the
with
bio
him.
teacher. Yeah.
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 And I had fantastic club coaches throughout my career. So those guys really inspired me to want to be a coach. And Bob said, hey, you should go out to Stanford and see if you can become a camp coach and then use that experience to make connections. And to be honest with you, Sam, I'm sitting here today because of the connections that I made
Totally.
all the way back then at Stanford. And
It's amazing.
what's really neat about my Stanford experience was one summer my roommate was Nate Scholl. Nate started Swim Nerd,
Okay. Yeah.
which has become an emerging company in the sport. Nate Kellogg was another roommate of mine. He was the head coach at William and Mary. So we made a lot of really close connections while we were out there.
That's amazing. Yeah. And the connection piece, that when I think of you, Mike Murray, right? And just all the different areas and spaces that you've touched and the ways and capacities that we've collaborated before, like connection, you lead with connection. And I think
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it is why it's like so refreshing. So I sit on the outside. I'm not inside of anyone's sport, right? I'm on the outside of swim. I get to dabble in it and support people that are in it and other sports as well. And in our space, like our home swimming, is being you holding leadership positions is a signal to me too of like, okay, like it's a nod, like we're moving in this direction where we are going to center connection and humans and human first. And so, yeah, so that makes sense to me. So the people in your life that inspired you, that you felt connected to, modeled that for you. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So you are, yeah. So share with people who might not know, and I'll have the bio that precedes this, but the many hats, like you have, when you talk about sport parent podcast, like this conversation for parents that are navigating the space, like you have the experience as an athlete, and you mentioned, right, starting out D1, transferring to D3 and your experience there, which we could have like a literal podcast episode if you're willing to come back, for each of these
Absolutely.
hats that you wear, right? The experiences that you've had. And then as a coach, a business owner of a club, now as an athletic director, right, an administrator at an independent school. Albany Academy falls under that, right? Yeah, an independent school. Prep school. That's new to me, Mike, as you know, with my daughter. But entering into that space. And then that whole process, right? That is its own conversation. And then as a coach and a sport parent, right? So I'll let you choose where you want to start, but the big picture questions to explore are essentially like, given your areas of expertise, your lived experience, what you've learned to be true, where are we getting it right? Where are we missing? I think one of the things that I was part of my why in starting this was the kind of this false dichotomy of either sport parents they're ruining it all. They're psychotic. They're too intense, to this not even involved in sport. I was looking at the stats, and actually like the numbers, right, we're trending down in participation for kids in that age group of 6 to 12. And so it's like, what's this messy middle look like? Where are we? It's not like we're either ruining it or right or nothing. How do we do this well? Yeah. So I'll let you pick a hat or fuse them all. Like, just take it away. What comes up for you when I ask that question?
So, you mentioned me transferring from Division I to Division III.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I had to have a very difficult conversation with my college coach at the time, who was Chuck Warner.
Mm-mm.
And ironically, I just wrote a intro or a recommendation for his book, and his book is entitled "How to Be a Great Swim Parent."
Oh, I need to
And you know,
have you connect him, have him come on. Yeah. How to be a great swim
and
parent. Yeah.
I absolutely will do that. And Chuck and I had a kind of an emotional departure for a while because it
Mm,
was tough for me leaving one school and going to another.
mm-hmm,
Um, my work with ASCA over the last 10 years
mm-hmm,
has brought us incredibly close. We did a Coach's Corner episode together. He often calls me and we
mm,
bounce ideas off each other. Um, and so one of the things that we were just talking about, Sam, was we have a really tough product to sell
mm,
when we're thinking about age group swimming and age group development.
mm-hmm,
Our product right now, you and I have had wonderful experiences. I know that you had your own personal struggles with the sport. I had
mm-hmm,
mine. Um, when we look at our sport from a family standpoint,
mm-hmm,
the pressure and the competition and the drive to be successful at a high level or
mm-hmm,
use swimming as a vehicle for later on in college
mm-hmm,
has become so heavy.
mm-hmm,
And none of us know really how to manage it
mm-hmm,
that well because it's always changing.
mm-hmm,
For example, everybody's heard about the changes with NCAA policies, the transfer portal.
mm-hmm,
Athletes in the Power Four conferences now, they're not getting recruited out of high school. They're getting recruited out
mm-hmm,
of the transfer portal first. And high school athletes are having to look elsewhere because there might not be available roster spots.
mm-hmm,
That trickle down effect to the 13, 14-year-old swimmer, it's all about qualifying for that next championship meet.
mm-hmm.
And then for the 10 and 11 swimmer, it's all about zones. And 10 and under is all about rankings.
Right.
And I think we've lost the fact that we do this whole thing,
Mm-hmm,
whether it's swimming or whether it's pickleball, we're doing it for fun,
mm-hmm,
for socialization, for creating platforms for our kids to explore discipline and commitment and enjoyment and lifelong health and fitness.
mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you that for the first 20 years of my career, I fell into those categories and was making those mistakes on a daily basis.
Mm. Say
Um,
more, meaning the hooking into the. I think of it like a train or like a system. It's just like this, you hop on board, like here's where we're going, and there's one way, and it's this track to the top, right? That's it. And so like you're either on board or you're not on board. And what I hear you saying and calling for is like space, opportunities, and all different trains that we can get on. Or maybe it's not even a train, right? But this playground of yeah, that and so keep sharing. So what when if you're up for it and sharing kind of what you've learned, and I think a huge piece of this container of space, my intention behind it is to normalize like not one of there is no playbook for parenting. Yeah, like humaning. There's a lot we can learn, but we're going to fall on our faces. Like we're going to make mistakes, and actually that's part of it, right? That's the opportunity for growth. So if you feel comfortable, just kind of touching back into that space, and then what you do differently now, knowing what you know.
I've always thought that it's the greatest honor in the world to have the ability to work with a team,
Mm,
to coach athletes, and to make a difference. At the same time, my mind and my heart were captivated with forwarding my own career, and the
mm,
fastest way to do that was to develop the fastest
mm-hmm,
kids and get the most publicity that way.
mm-hmm,
Whether it was through our collective team success or individual athlete success, which I was always happy for the individual.
mm-hmm,
But I discovered not until very recently
mm-hmm,
that I was not a relationship based coach.
mm. Which is so interesting because I see that's how I see you. Yeah,
Yeah.
as
And,
connection. Mm-hmm.
and the last 10 years, certainly.
Yeah.
Um, but I was, in effect, and I'm going to make this sound awful, I was using the teams and athletes that I coached
Mm-hmm.
for self-improvement
Mm-hmm.
as one of the main drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was sitting at one of my stepdaughter's college meets, and I started to really pay attention. She has one of the best. She had one of the best college swim coaches in history, and Greg Perini at
Yes.
Denison.
Yes.
Um, the way that the athletes listened to him,
Mm.
the way that they looked at him, and the things that he were saying to him were the most authentic coaching moments that I've seen in
Mm.
person. And I had started trending in that direction, and that was a self-affirming moment for me to say, you need to care about these kids, number one, as people
Mm-hmm.
and how you can support them on a daily basis. And maybe swimming is like 34th on the list of important
Mm-hmm.
things that you can do
And
for
can
them.
that be okay? Yeah.
And
Yes.
can I live like that?
Yes. Yes.
Um, and so, 4 years prior to joining Albany Academy this year, I really changed the way that I spoke to the kids, talked
Mm-hmm.
to the kids, coached the kids, and they were arguably the four most successful
Mm-hmm.
years of my career.
And that
Um,
right there, like that piece is so important because there's a fear, I think, when we're hooked in that if you do that and you drop this intensity, maybe intensity is not the right word, but that like kind of using it as a vehicle to drive the success, your success and getting that next step. That if you do that and you release that and turn toward the kids and honor where they are, that it's all going to fall apart. And so like, and I see that in small pockets. That's what inspires my work. And I think that's so beautiful that you share and that you share so openly and honestly. Because I know, as even as a mom from this space, teaching what I teach, talking about what I talk about, and I would say living in alignment most of the time as a mom, I get hooked into that too. Like I have a daughter, my oldest has huge dreams. Like she wants to be in that direction, and it's so easy to get swept right into it and get hooked into that. And I think when I hear you talking about it, what comes up for me with all the, we haven't connected to get the update on this like side work I've been doing with this mental health group. And I get to like nerd out on neuroscience, and I don't need to go down that tangent, but all that to say, I've learned so much more about the brain, the body, the brain, the connection, the nervous system. And so when I hear it's like we get hooked into that, well, of course, like you're young, you're eager, you're doing what you know, you're doing what you've been taught, and operating inside of a system. And this has been one of my, I guess, critiques for a long time in the sport of our sport of swimming is that coaches are rewarded, like the systems and structures are set up for that, such as if your athlete swims well, then you're promoted. It's not based on other dimensions of like you as a coach and the impact that you're making for the kid that never makes a national junior team, right? So I think to sharing that perspective and kind of mirroring back to like as a doorway for grace, like being compassionate with your younger version of you, right? That was doing the best that you could at the time with the tools that you had, and now you know better. What helped you with that shift?
uh,
Was it that one
honest,
moment at that college meet, or kind of a
that that
combination?
was that was the moment, Sam, that I think I realized I had some personality traits about myself that I didn't like,
Mm,
and and certainly a lot of therapy,
mm-hmm.
um, because that was the moment where I felt really like the perception that I was creating was disingenuous.
Mm.
And even the way I was looking at myself, like, be honest with yourself, Mike. You look at yourself as a swim coach.
Yeah, that identity piece. That's real.
You're
Yeah, yeah,
you're a dad.
yeah.
You're a dad. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of other roles that are far more important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was really, this process is really challenging because you jettison things when you're in this swim coach life sometimes. So I can't go out with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I've I've got this travel meet. I'm gonna miss Claire's gymnastics because I have a 3-day meet. I I'm not gonna say no to this
Mm-hmm.
trip to Colorado Springs. I can't say no to this speaking engagement
Mm-hmm.
because this is going to bring all these other things. And all of a sudden, I realized very quickly that there were two people in my mind. There was Mike Murray, the swim coach,
Mm.
and then the perception of myself that was starting to trend very negatively.
Mm.
And there were many signs, like everybody was telling me, you got to pull back, you got to take on less, which is extraordinarily hard for me even to this day.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I'm with you
and
in that learning how to put things down. Totally. Yes.
right,
Yeah.
and learning to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not very good at it,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I I think our sport and our space needs to really evaluate how we think about time commitment to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. That's not just swimming. That's
No.
right. That's all of it. And I think as a parent too, there's this like friction of, so I have 4 daughters, none of them swim. And like a huge reason why was because they loved soccer and they wanted to try indoor soccer and lacrosse and they wanted to run track. And then of course, all 4 of them land in ice hockey. It's like, there was no place to plug in to swim. And we don't live in an area where I used to live in Georgia, there were summer leagues, and that was like that was magic, right? It's an easy access point, and it was something that you could pick up, and all different kinds of athletes would join in the summertime. And so that idea of, okay, well, now I've got to choose. My kid's only 7. Like what? Like as a parent, and then am I choosing what I want to do or what they want to, so kind of balancing that, I think, in addition to then the commitment for the family and what that means. And so at all levels, right? The swim coaches or any coach is also like that, you're helping to center, like there's a human behind the coach who also has a family, who is also trying to navigate all of these things as well, right? And I think that is often forgotten. The coach becomes quickly dehumanized, and it's like you're just expected to be right on call. Right. So what would you say is like to parents that are listening, like where are we getting it right? Like where are we like collectively, right, moving the needle and into a more sustainable for all, for the athletes, for the parents, like just the spaciousness of what you described of like, there's not one path. This is a vehicle, right, for them to explore and build these skills. Where are we doing well, like would you say, or trending in a direction that's moving toward alignment? And then we can speak to the
Well,
growth. Yeah.
when I think of my experience as an athlete,
Mm.
it was completely self-led.
Mm.
It was emotionally supported by my mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
but there was never any conversation about swimming unless my brothers and I brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or, if my folks were talking about it with friends.
Mm-hmm.
There was never hey, you've got practice, so you can't do these things. It was, are you going to go to practice or are you going to go to your
Oh
friends?
wow! So they let that was your choice.
They were so
Yeah,
ahead
yeah,
of their time in that sense. And I'm worried because I don't see a lot of that now.
yeah.
And I think that the athletes that we see who are really successful now, um, many of them are self-led.
Mm-hmm.
The external pressures for them to do things, um, aren't affecting the way that they make their choices.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting to see some of the athletes in our sport and other sports speak out about like how they want to change the way that they've been looking at their life.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation a few weeks ago with Mark Hesse, who's a very close
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine and mentor. And he said, I wonder if anyone is considering how little can we do and still keep improving.
I think the pandemic taught us so much. I'll refer to that when I'm working with an athlete who's still fearful of rest or taking a break, and it's like, hey, like we had a little experiment going on then, right? Yeah. In terms of swimming and like taking a break and the impact that would have. Yeah. It's
I think parents need to listen, like, Mom, I think maybe this summer I also want to play lacrosse.
yeah. And
Have that?
so from a parent perspective, where I can like that house case piece, right? So like if this is what your kid's dream is, then you have the cuts to the raw, like the pressure. So it's so easy for me to climb right into that parent of what their emotional experience is and say, I totally get you're wanting to like grip and control and oh my goodness, what if? Like you see it and it's like, okay, because we're humans. So this piece of like, we're humans and our bodies are reacting. There's a lot we can do to be able to still show up how we're wanting to show up in that moment with our kid, right? So that's our stuff to work on. And in that space, giving them, right? Because why not and at what cost? Like, what's the cost of taking the summer, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think about it all the time. And then to your point, I think about moments that are lost.
Mm.
And I'll explain what I mean. There was rarely a time in high school where my family, my brothers, my parents, where we didn't have dinner together.
Mm.
I was very, very fortunate in that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Very few families on any of the teams that I've coached are able to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of regular conversation that takes place inside the home when you're tired at the end of the day and everybody's talking about their day, and that socialization piece with your family that's lost. I think there's an emptiness somewhere in our children's development because they don't know what that looks like. They're less willing to maybe share how they're feeling.
You're onto something.
And we are too as parents.
The
right?
decompression that comes with that time together. And then you think about, well, I think about from a stress cycle perspective of like being on all day and activated, and then this ability to be in like this communal space to decompress with people you love, like it signals to your body like, okay, like we're safe, like can talk about these things, exactly what you're saying, even if it's not in depth, but it's that touch point. Yeah, it is. We strive to go at least 3 to 4 nights a week, but that's being real, right? Like we're not every night just because practice times and work, like we're 2 working parents. And so the shuffling of the kids and all of the things and like so many snacks in the cars. Like, so I think it's the intention here is not to say like, this is how it has to be done and all. It's an invitation, like what you're saying, your perspective of offering that, like, what would it look like feeling around? What would it look like to put phones on? We bought a dock for a charger, so the phones go on there. And so when we're sitting at the table, being able to pull up, even if it's for 5-10 minutes, right? What would the ripple of that be to bring that piece back? Yeah.
And society in general, Sam, like it's so much different. Both parents have to work.
Yep. Real. Yeah.
And working hours that are outside the traditional hours. And, I just think there is so much happening, and there's a lot of good too. But right now, and my life has slowed down to a more normal schedule here. But I see some of these kids that they go to their high school practice here, and then they're waiting out front for mom or dad to pick them up to take them to their club workout or their AAU team or whatever it might be. And I'll say, what time did you get home last night? 9:30, 10. And then we're starting up the next day and we're going to go through it again. And so I worry about the downtime, the downtime, like when we were kids after school, we were outside, and I just,
you're bringing up something so personal. My kids are taking the spring off. So it's the first time we haven't done softball. Hockey ends and it's like a pretty abrupt drop from like go, right? With 4 different kids in different places. And I felt this like kind of percolating like, should we be doing something? Like, should they be trying lacrosse or doing, and they just they're working out with, so my husband's a strength coach. We have a gym in our garage. They're doing their workout. They're like running, they'll come with me to the trail. And it's like the difference is palpable, even in my energy, and I'm able to shift gears. I'm not driving. Yeah. So the other thing that's also true though, is the time in the car. I love that time. I'm not going to lie, like get them next to you or behind you. And all of a sudden you start learning about all these things about their day. So it's not good or bad. I think the other part of this the intention of this is getting clear about what you value. Like, and there's not a standard value set for all parents, right? It's like what's most important, and are you connected to what values matter most to you, and when we fall out of alignment, right? So being in nature for me, having that downtime, like those are really important for us in this core. And so no wonder I feel more in alignment. There's more space to be able to do those kinds of things. So yeah, so white space for sure. And even like the high schoolers' day, a little different in college, though the demand, right? Like collegiate athletes, like the demands are different. But in high school, you map out their day and the amount of time, right? The time they're waking up, the amount of time they're in class, then you add practices. And it really is like such minimal amounts of pockets. And then they've got to eat, do homework, and then be social, right? So it's like, and have that time with family. So without intention, without pausing and checking in, I think a lot can get lost, right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, and if I could say, and if there are any coaches who end up watching this who are younger coaches and just getting started, there's no race.
Yeah.
You know, like you're coaching a team and it's a small team and maybe from a small town that doesn't get a lot of swimming press or whatever, and you have these big aspirations. Make that team great.
Yeah.
You can make that team great in that town and stay with them and be loyal and
and develop relationships, right? Like I think
develop those relationships. And listen, like I think about it all the time now. I wouldn't trade my experiences for the world. I would trade every mistake I made.
Then where would the learning be, though?
Right.
You know, the pain that those mistakes caused that generated that like inward look.
Yeah, and listen, you know, again, that coach ambition made me make some of the same mistakes over and over again. I just think that there's such an opportunity to be a great coach where you are and do the things that you want to do where you are and not have to leave for a metropolitan area or
which means if they have a family too or want a family, like uprooting, and that was something that was so as a wife of a coach, that's always been like, all right, we go where the job is. Whoa. Like, okay, here we go.
And God bless the wives who are able to do that, right? Like so strong.
Well, it takes a rumbling of what are your values, like if that's okay.
Right.
And I think we got to a certain point where with our daughter, you know, being at Children's in Boston, we're like 100-mile radius, here we go. Like it has to fall within this. So yeah. So when it comes to like shifting gears a bit with like, how do you take what you know and have learned as a coach, your experience, and like how does that show up in your own parenting? Let's say when you're, you know, obviously you're human like the rest of us, so you're not always going to be in alignment, but when you're in alignment, like what are you doing that you've carried with you into that sports dad space?
Yeah. So the number one thing, and it's funny that you mentioned this because I was just thinking about this at Finn's basketball practice the other day. He's on a 10U basketball team and they were doing a shooting drill and my man was missing every single shot. Right. And of course, like, you know, as a parent, you know that they're looking to you right after each thing. Right. And so I made sure that I was looking at him and I made sure that, you know, I'm there smiling and we've gotten to a place, right, where like he knows that in the car afterwards, like we're going to joke about the fact that he missed so many in a row.
Yeah. That it's okay. Right? Yeah. It's safe.
And I'll only know if it's safe if he goes, Dad, I couldn't hit, you know, a shot
if
of
he
my
brings it up.
time, right?
Well, so you let him lead.
So
I hear that. I hear you.
Yep.
So present. And so do you feel when he's missing, is there any part of you internally that's like, oh no, or are you just finding your zen?
There's not, because sports for my son, and I noticed this early, are a socialization thing that he loves. His passion is music, performance, theater. Like he loves that stuff. But he also loves sports because I love sports. And he can tell you, Sam, every single NFL player, where they went to college,
so
like what their number is, like especially Buffalo Bills stuff.
Okay.
But he uses sports as his socialization. Cool. So I I love the fact that he likes to do it because he likes to, and movement is so healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other thing that I really try to model for the other parents who might know, what I do, or
Mm-hmm.
um, good game, bad game,
Yeah.
good practice, bad practice. I'll take 5 minutes with the coach afterwards and just like show
Yeah.
gratefulness. Like,
Yeah.
and sometimes, it's a coach who hasn't really developed yet. They don't have enough skills, or they're still figuring out, and just show gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ask them if they're doing okay after a bad
The
loss. Like,
humanization. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I can't tell you how many times I've walked off a pool deck at a big meet where maybe we wanted to do better,
Mm.
and I sense the parent like not wanting to even look at me,
Yeah.
right? And I never want another coach to feel like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
So
palpable. Like I can go into so there's like I hear presence, this awareness of yourself too, and you're orienting when we talk about values. What matters most to Finn? Like you're connected to why he does it, and even if his why was like to make a national team or play in the league someday, I think this the response, the aligned response is still the same. Like I love you, like
it's it,
being able
man.
to joke and bring a playfulness to it because he's more than, and that's a piece like these are our kids who are humans who are striving in sport, right? We
Yeah,
say we're athletes and also we're humans who are athletes, like who are competing in sport. It's easier to say, it's a mouthful when you say it that way, right? But that, yeah. So man, there's so much more I want to ask you when it comes to this.
like,
I like
and Claire is so competitive in
And she does
gymnastics.
gymnastics. Yeah. So tell me about that experience for you when it comes from like, we did a time sport. There was like,
Hmm.
I don't know, is there even subjectivity? Maybe who can do a relay or what position they go in a relay, but really it's like you swim a time.
You spend time.
Yes. So this like element of it's still an individual sport, but there's so much subjectivity. How do you like
Yes.
talk to us?
I'll start by saying the greatest thing about swimming is that everybody swims.
Mm.
My kids are involved in some sports where maybe everybody's not going to be performing all the time,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you're going to sit on the bench for 45 minutes
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. Um,
It's so true.
Gymnastics is, um, you have to understand that for your daughter or your son, um, there is so much pressure
Mm-hmm.
because all the eyes are on you.
Mm-hmm.
Where even in swimming you could feel that way, but you know that there's 8 other guys or
Mm-hmm.
7 other guys in the race. Um, when Claire makes a mistake on the beam or on uneven bars or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I know that when we get in the car, it's going to be quiet for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
So very different,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like the athletes that you coach, your kids are super different in the way that they take things.
Mm-hmm.
So some I'm a fixer, Sam. Like I'm a problem solver, right? Like I want to talk it out.
Yes.
Like I'm like that
So
in my
that's your inner
relationships.
work. Pause,
That's
pause, pause. Right? Like noticing
so
it.
like
Yeah.
especially this year, like I'm used to coaching, many female athletes, but now I'm coaching not coaching, but helping to coach
Mm-hmm.
female athletes in other sports.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is like sometimes they just need a little time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to be the fixer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my friend Jeff Raker tells me that all the time. Like, Mike,
Yes.
pump the brakes,
Yes.
pump the brakes. Like you're not going to solve this problem right
Yeah.
now because it's important to you right now. Like they're trying to navigate something that's really important to them right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't quite quantify how to communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And so silence is okay sometimes.
And that is the work. Like for if we turn it inward, like for the parents listening, it's like, holy moly. Okay, yes, that like we know that is the path forward, and also what that requires then is being able to sit with the discomfort internally. So for me, it's like pop on a channel on the radio and start to sing a little jam so that it helps me move my stuff through so that I can show up in the way that I'm wanting to. Yeah, how do you cope with that discomfort? So if you successfully pump the brake, what are you doing to help support yourself through that?
Right. So a lot of times, if it's in the car on the way home, you just got to let it be,
Yeah.
right? You just got to let it be. And we're at a place where like I know seconds after we get home, she'll tell me about
Talk.
it or
So what do you
or
do to
talk.
support yourself though? So go back into the car, like into the car, and you're feeling the discomfort or the urge or impulse. You just like focus on the road. Like, what are you using as a strategy?
Yeah, so a lot of times, like, well, if it's in the fall, right, it's easy. We throw the NFL or college football
Got it.
game,
Put it on TV,
right?
on the radio. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, like Claire knows as much football as Finn. It's really awesome.
So
It's
funny.
really, I'm very lucky from that standpoint that they share those interests.
So funny.
Um, and if she's in the middle of that silence and she's listening to something, she might say, "Wait, Dad, what time is that game on today?" Or "Dad, like who's starting for Michigan this
Mm.
week?" Those kinds of
Hmm.
things, and sometimes that will pull out. A lot of times, like if I get home, like just go for a walk, man.
Yes.
Just go for a walk around the block. And I think the hardest time for me to do it is not if they have a poor performance. I've seen so many poor performances in my career to know that it's an integral part of the process.
Hmm.
Um, what I get mad at as a sports parent is if I see bad attitude
Hmm.
or poor effort.
Hmm.
And the coach in me immediately, the second the game's over, the second we're not in public,
Hmm.
wants to say, listen, don't you ever roll your eyes
Hmm.
at your coach again.
Hmm.
Don't you turn your back on a teammate who's trying to make you feel better.
Hmm.
I don't want to ever see that again.
Hmm.
Those are real feelings.
Totally.
They are not going to be communicated 30 seconds after
No,
you get in the
or
car.
if that or heard, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
It's
I think
just
that's
not.
so important too, is like the sifting. That goes back to this idea of like all or nothing. Like sports parents are just like crazy and getting in the way and they're the problem. But like actually there is value. And I love listening and learning from Michael Gervais, Dr. Mike,
Mm,
in his Finding Mastery podcast. And he'll talk about, he's had little bits where he shares his interactions with his son in the car, in post. And it's like, asking questions, like there is value there in having this kind of relationship and being able to communicate, and especially if it's there's friction against a value, right? But like, is it 30 seconds? Like the timing there, the approach, the emotional state they're in, the emotional state you're in. Yeah, it's that dance of relationships. Exactly. Yeah, so it's not that we need to stay silent and never say a word as a parent and just kind of be the taxi. Like our perspective matters, what our insight matters, and it's like, what are we trying to say? What's the intention behind it? Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Sam, like I coached all three of my stepdaughters through very successful swimming careers. And I screwed it up every time,
Mm.
every single time.
Mm.
Any of the faith that they had in me from that side of our relationship
Mm-hmm.
was immediately gone when I transitioned into trying to be a coach.
Yeah.
Um,
And a coach that wasn't, it was like the forced part of you, coach, but not your authentic. Like I feel like you've described this transition back into like an authentic state of like who you are and how you operate and centering people, and versus that space you were in before in that kind of trap. Yeah.
and I learned so much from that experience. And I think to myself, like, how could you do that to three people that you love
Mm-hmm.
as much as your own children? And I came back to this place where that ambition
Mm-hmm.
and that drive and the goals all got in the way of the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want younger coaches to understand,
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to get lost in that
Mm-hmm.
and lose your values when you never think that you are.
Mm-hmm. I would
You
say
could have,
parents too, Mike. Like the same applies to like, any parent that's stepped into that space with their own kid, post performance, before performance. Like I've never met a parent that doesn't love their kid.
right.
Really, truly at their core, like doesn't love their kid. How we show it, how we show up. Sometimes I think it is surprising how what we're capable of, especially when we're hooked by fear or we're kind of gripped by this, like what you're saying, like that drive and ambition felt like the only way. Yeah. So it's
It
like, it's
was.
very real
Yeah.
for all of us. Yeah. What you're describing. Yes.
And there's another piece to coaching that's such a challenge is when you start out, you're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're picking up all of these other
Mm-hmm.
jobs just just to pay rent
Mm-hmm.
when you're a young coach,
Mm-hmm.
just to have insurance, to have health insurance. It's a very real issue in our sport, and certainly I'm sure in many others.
Mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is you're so overloaded with doing those things and doing them well so that you can take care
Mm-hmm.
of your family.
Totally.
And I'm here to tell you, you're not taking care of your family.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, I would have much rather now have lived like a pauper
Mm-hmm.
than have the success that I had,
Mm-hmm.
because so much was lost in that time.
That goes back to this concept that we teach with that group I was referencing. So 5 and 5, and the scale, for those that are watching can see it, but those that are listening, the same here scale. This idea, we teach this concept of stress and trauma accumulating on the nervous, because our body does, it accumulates just like plaque on the arteries, right? And so when we have a visual of a bucket, and the bucket has a certain capacity based on genetics, right? And there's the stressors or the spouts, right? The stress is the water. And at a certain point, so all those, right, the jobs, the pressures, all the things that we've gone through, all of it, right, accumulates. And at a certain point, the bucket overflows, and that's when we move into those dysregulated spaces, and that's where our behavior pops in ways that isn't aligned. And so it's about figuring out, how do we slow the spouts, right, or stop some of them, and how do we learn to drain stress from our system. So I think that that is so applicable to all of us, and especially it's so real in coaching, right? And I think it slides right into the sport parent piece too. So yeah. Oh my gosh, I so appreciate your honesty. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Oh my goodness. So what would you say, like, when it comes to a parent that maybe has acted like, like we all have, let's assume all of us, like we've made we've showed up in a way, we're like, oh man, what permission slips do we give ourselves to kind of make the shifts that you've described making in your own life?
Boy, I think you have to have, it's the most important commodity, right? You have to have time every day to reflect,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to be quiet time. For me, it really amounts to about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, Not driving, not at your desk.
Mm-hmm.
You could be on your couch, someplace comfortable, out in nature,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you do, and start thinking about the things that you did during the day that were positive
Mm-hmm.
and move something forward. And for me, when I think about the positive thing that I do every day or the thing that I move forward, I first have to think about my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's driving me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very intentional, Sam, so that my priorities remain aligned with
Totally.
the changes that I've made.
It's,
So
yeah, so beautiful.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll try to think of that
Yep.
first. And some days you can't. Like some days you might say like it's not there,
Mm.
and that's okay. And then I'll go to, all right, who at school did I help today?
Mm.
Um, and I just, there's that really popular quote, and it trended for a long time, and it's probably cliche, but like every single person, and it really changed the way that I look. Every single person is fighting a battle
Mm-hmm.
that you know nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of times I see parents on their worst possible day.
Mm.
Um, and so where in the past the Irish Catholic, would lash out,
Mm-hmm.
I really try to pause and try to get to know the person
Mm-hmm.
before I provide the response.
Beautiful.
Um,
It's that pause that is like threaded throughout your shares today, is just this intentional pause and a willingness, like so brave for you to share too, like how the courage and the work that it takes to be able to turn toward and own and have that level of ownership. Like that is like, that's the work, right? So
and
yeah.
sometimes you don't get there until you make mistakes, or you
Yeah.
lose stuff, or you lose people.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's a really difficult world for parents to navigate too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
we
the,
really are. There's not really a playbook. Like, I think that's the you do, and each kid's unique. That right, like each journey's different. The time that they're raised, even if they're 2 years apart, the world's different. So yeah, I think that goes to like we're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have, and when we are bumping into spaces that are not aligned, then we've got to pause and ask ourselves, like, what supports am I needing, or what tools am I needing, like what needs shifting. But that I also take that, I do the practice you're describing too. Yeah, of just, I was just out the side this morning, and I like to add in barefoot on the ground because it's a grounding, like literally connecting with the earth, even in the snow, because it's powerful just to pause. Yeah. And be able to put things down and regain perspective. So
feel it, right? Like feel the grass under your feet.
Yeah.
Be present, like presence.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that in my life until recently.
That's so beautiful.
Um,
Oh my gosh, Mike. So I want to
yeah.
honor our time, speaking of that, right? And your time, and like a open door to come back to so much more to explore. Particularly, I'm going to leave a little cliffhanger in terms of like, or maybe you could give a short little nugget for parents that are supporting kids who are being directly affected across all sports by the house case. Athletes that are in high school, their college that they thought they were going to, or that they dreamt about, or had a spot taken away, and then there's those that are being transferred and moved. It is. I support athletes across different sports, and there's not one coach or one athlete that it's not impacting. And I also connect for those that I support with the parents, and they're like, is my kid going to be okay? And so that, yeah. So, and maybe dropping in a nugget, and then we can come back and explore, particularly your transition in your transfer in college. Like, I think that's worth its own conversation. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So what would you leave us with here?
So I'm talking to parents about this very thing every day,
Mm-hmm.
for hours.
Yeah.
Number one, for a place like us at an independent prep school, we are welcoming those athletes who may need another year
to develop,
to either participate in athletics, to mature. I think there's independent schools all across the country do a really good job of preparing kids for collegiate success on a variety of levels. So in one way, House versus NCAA is actually helping prep schools. And I think it's maybe a good way for us to also understand that not every 18-year-old is ready for college or major Division I college sports. I certainly struggled with that at Rutgers. What I think parents should understand, and more importantly, athletes should understand, is the reason that you do this, the reason that you play lacrosse, that you play football, that you play softball, that you play squash or swimming or whatever it is because when you were little, it was really, really fun all the time. You went to practice without cynicism, without worry, without anxiety. You went there to hit a baseball with your friends and joke around and chew bubblegum and have fun and all of those things.
That's it.
And we forget that that's why we do it.
Reclaiming that part. Yes.
I walked down to the basement of the RPI pool here in Albany where we have our Adirondack LSC championships. And it was during the 10 and under session. And when these kids weren't up at the pool racing, they were having the best time.
Yeah.
Concession stand, running around the tables, playing little card games.
It reminds me of my daughter and she's on a 10U hockey team this year, and they just we got gymnastics going on in the hallway. We've got bracelets braiding hair. Yeah.
Well, we forget that that's what it was like, Sam.
Yeah.
It
wasn't so true.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not walking into the pool today worried about 3100s on 110.
Exactly.
I'm worried. I used to go to the pool and say, like, I wonder who's going to be in my lane today.
Totally. Yeah.
And I don't know how we lose that, but we have.
Yeah. I think, yes, that's all right. We're going to leave a cliffhanger because there's so much more to explore with you. And I want to honor you. You got to fuel your body and take care of the littles. I love that before we hit record, right, you were in the water with pre-K. So fun teaching swim lessons. So thank you so much. Where can people, if they want to learn from you, be in connection with you? I know your role has shifted, learn more about Albany Academy, where can they find you? What's the best place to follow
Yeah,
or reach
sure.
out?
So anybody can always email me at coachmurray3n@gmail.com.
Nice.
Instagram is coachmurray3n. Certainly find out more about Albany Academy from just albanyacademy.org or at albanyacademy.athletics on Instagram.
Nice. We'll put these links in the notes too, the show notes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And happy to help. Of
Oh
course,
my gosh.
always encourage coaches to go to ASCA and learn about what we can do for you from a coach education and certification standpoint.
Love it. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Mike.
Anytime, Sam. Thanks for having me.